Protocol said stand down. She pulled the trigger anyway. Commander Daxonru's words echoed. If she touches that brimstone, she's off the mission for good. Seconds later, Specialist Aerin Voss, a medic, locked the bolt, took a breath, and fired into a kill zone swarming with hostiles. What do you do when Protocol says stand down, but your gut says pull the trigger, or they die? She wasn't cleared to shoot. She wasn't even supposed to be on that ridge. But when Falconspire went quiet, the Brimstone Mk.9 was already there, perched like a promise no one thought she'd touch. Aerin Voss dropped prone, dialed the scope, and made the shot that changed everything. Fort Ashara didn't look like much. From the outside, just sun-bleached concrete, radio masts, and rows of prefab units scattered across the northern Helix Desert. Inside, it pulsed with tension, not from war, but from silence, the kind that settles when a base ignores its own ghosts. To most of the team, Aerin Voss was just the medic, 5'4", slight, soft-voiced, the one who handed out antibiotics in 4 drips. To Commander Rohr, she was a discipline case waiting to happen. But buried deep in classified records, deeper in her blood, was a name most had forgotten. Aerin Voss, her older brother, killed in an off-book black recon near the Eric Line. A sniper, a legend, and to those who knew better, a ghost. He never trained students except one. Aerin had grown up in the forests of Verlin Province, where Arden taught her to track wind through pine needles and calculate drift using nothing but breath and heartbeat. She'd buried that when he died, or tried to until the warning came. It wasn't on any secure channel. It came through a salvaged Spectralink terminal she'd rebuilt from drone scrap. The screen flickered. Obsidian 9. Overwatch vulnerability detected. Tomorrow's route is compromised. Nullwind ravine exposed. Aerin froze. The message wasn't for her, wasn't addressed to anyone, but it matched the blind spot she'd seen on the ridge map she wasn't supposed to be reading. The cold weight in her chest returned, the same one she'd felt in Kandahar years ago, when she was ordered to wait for clearance and a Marine bled out before her hands ever touched him. The next morning, she tried. She approached Commander Rohr. With maps in hand, voice steady. Sir, I believe Nullwind is a covered line of approach. The elevation on our overwatch, he didn't glance up. Your role is medical support, Specialist Voss. I don't need terrain analysis from a field medic. Dismissed. Her warning ignored. Back in her quarters, the Spectralink blinked again. A second message, shorter, sharper, Obsidian. You're the only one who sees it. Act if they won't. She stared at the screen, her pulse steady, her breath slow. Her brother's voice echoed in memory. Precision is what remains when chaos takes everything else. The message wasn't theoretical anymore. It was an accusation. Obsidian 9 Overwatch vulnerability confirmed. Grid 47.193, N8.72E Nullwind ravine. Enemy establishing firing positions. It landed like a mortar round, silent, clean, final. Not a suggestion, a fact. Everything inside her went still. She looked at the map again. Falconspire to the west, convoy route carving east through open desert. The ravine, the one she'd flagged, was exactly where the message pointed. She wasn't wrong. She was right. Her fingers moved fast, calculating elevation, line of sight angles, wind vectors. She opened a coded channel on the Spectralink, one not officially recognized. She didn't plan a counterattack or pretend to be a strategist, just a patch, a simple, efficient change to save lives. Obsidian 9 acknowledged. Recommend shifting Overwatch 200 meters northwest. Establish secondary high-angle support. Clear Los into Nullwind. Then she hit send. At Fort Ashara. The air was thick with heat and suspicion. Rumors moved faster than sandstorms. During PT, Lex Moraro, the team's spotter, leaned over to another operator, grinning. Doc was down at the range again last night. Saw her pop 4 steel at 100 meters with the VX sidearm. The reply came with a snort. Maybe she thinks she's her brother. Another chuckle, then silence. As Aerin walked past Chow, the mood shifted, not hostile, but watchful. She felt it in every half glance, every halted conversation, the quiet calculation in their eyes. She wasn't invisible anymore, but she wasn't seen the right way either. By sundown, the rumors reached Roar. He didn't shout or storm the medic's bay. The order came quietly, effective immediately. Specialist Voss is restricted from all live fire ranges. Any further unauthorized training will trigger formal reassignment. She read the email in silence, caught between fury and heartbreak. The rifle her brother trained her on, forbiddens. The warning she'd tried to give, ignored. The truth. She saw a liability. Worst of all, the mission was still scheduled, the convoy still moving, and no one was doing anything about the ravine. The Spectralink screen pulsed softly, waiting 600 hours, Falconspire. The mission began like any other, convoy formation. Locked, comes clean, Overwatch Team Chief Arden Trace and Sergeant Lex Mororo, en route to the ridge. They didn't know. They couldn't. They were walking into it. Back at Fort Ashara, the morning routine hummed. Aerin stood by the medical prep station, checking trauma kits. That's all they expected. For her to catch the broken pieces, not stop the shattering. But her gut wouldn't stop twisting. She glanced at the wall monitor, the mission overlay still showing the route, the ridgeline, and Nullwind Ravine, just off-center, like a shadow no one wanted to see. Her pulse ticked faster. Her brother's voice again. You don't wait for permission to prevent a mistake. You prevent it, or you own it. Up on Falconspire, Trace and Mororo settled into position. The Brimstone Mk.9 rested on its bipod, cold and flawless. Lex scanned with binos, voice low over comms. Ghost to base. Position secured. Clear skies, visibility optimal. Then the sky cracked. Not a warning shot, not a misfire, a direct hit. A mortar shell impacted 15 meters behind their perch. Shrapnel ripped through rock and wind. Trace went down instantly, blood spraying the scope. The Brimstone clattered down the slope. Ghost is down, Ghost is hit, Brimstone lost. Mororo's voice, usually calm, fractured into chaos. Taking fire. From the ravine, they flanked us through the ravine. Back at base, the ops tent lit up with overlapping voices, panic, static. Commander Rue's voice cut through. Lock down that position. Get reinforcements up the ridge now. But the nearest QRF was 40 minutes out, the convoy 13 minutes from the kill zone. Infirmary comms picked up the broadcast. Aerin heard every word. Her blood ran cold. This was happening, everything she'd warned about, every line of her secret. Map, every word in the Obsidian message, tearing through her team in real time. She dropped the bandages, grabbed her go kit, and sprinted to the command tent. Rower was hunched over the sand table, voice taut. Call the gunships. I want overwatch from the air. Get confirmation on Trace's condition. But the gunships were grounded in a dust squall, and Trace was still bleeding out. Aerin burst through. The flap. Sir, her voice shook with urgency, not fear. I'm volunteering to take Trace's position. Everyone froze. Someone laughed. Rower looked at her like she was a child offering to lift a tank. Specialist Voss, we are not in a classroom. Scenario. You are a medic, not a marksman, not a sniper, not authorized for weapons you've only read about. Sir, Brimstone is in place. It's sighted. I know the physics. I've trained for this. The firing window 200 meters is exposed and live. The convoy is headed straight into it. You want me to let you take the shot? He asked, almost amused. No, sir, she said, voice steadying. You already made your decision. I'm not asking anymore. Roar didn't shout or argue. He lowered his eyes. Absolutely not. That's an order. Aerin nodded. Understood, sir. Then she turned and walked out, not to the infirmary, but toward her quarters, toward the ridge, toward history. The 27 meters between the command tent and her room weren't just steps, they were a lifetime. Every moment she'd been overlooked, every whispered comment, every door closed behind rank and protocol fell away. It wasn't about proving anything, it was about saving them. All of them. Inside her quarters, Aerin moved like a machine. No hesitation, she opened the hidden compartment beneath her bunk. Her hands touched the velvet-lined case. Personal optics. Kit. Calibrated by hand. Custom wind charts. Pressure-treated gloves. And a metal tag etched with 2 words. Trace Logic, her brother's call sign. She slid the gloves on, zipped her trauma kit tight. This wasn't defiance. This was purpose. Outside, the air was electric, tinged with static and the promise of reckoning. She moved fast, keeping her head down, taking an unmarked desert transport. No markings, no comes, just grit and the sound of her own breath anchoring her. By the time she reached the foothills of Falconspire, the gunfire was alive, the crack of M4S, the shriek of enemy rounds, the sharp, panicked breath of someone bleeding. At the top, she saw them. Lex Maroro, huddled behind jagged rock, eyes wide, rifle low. Chief Arden Trace slumped, his right arm soaked in blood, and the Brimstone, half buried in dust, waiting. She didn't speak. She dropped beside Trace, her hands working. Tourniquet, pressure dressing, painkillers. "Stay with me, Chief," she whispered. "You're not done yet." Then she stood, eyes on the rifle no one had let her touch. Lex's voice cracked. "Doc, what the hell are you?" But he froze. The way she dropped into the prone, the way her fingers slid under the trigger guard, the way she settled her cheek against the stock like it was an extension of her breath. He knew this wasn't a guess. This was muscle memory. This was bloodline. This was Aerin Voss. She peered through the scope. Enemy fighters moved through Nullwind Ravine, just as she'd warned. Wind left to right, 7 knots. Drop 18 inches at 1,950 meters. One breath in. Hold. Find the space between the beats. Squeeze. The Brimstone Mk.9 roared. The ridge went silent. A single enemy dropped. Clean. Final. Then another. Then another. Each round a scalpel. Each shot a sentence rewritten. Lex could barely speak. "Doc, what the hell was that?" She didn't answer. No need. She was scanning for the next target. The truth wasn't just in the blood. It was in the barrel, in the rhythm, in the impossible calm of someone who wasn't supposed to be here, but was born for this moment. The ridge was silent. Smoke drifted like ghosts without names. Spent brass cooled in the dust. The brimstones. Barrel steamed faintly, the scent of cordite clinging to the rock. Aerin Voss lay behind the rifle, half medic, half myth. Her hands, stained with blood and gunpowder, shook with exhaustion, but her voice through coms was steady. "Convoy, this is Ridge Overwatch. Threat neutralized. Continue through the corridor. You're clear." Back at Fort Ashara, the command tent was chaos. Convoy lead's voice cracked over the line. "We're taking scatterfire, but the main positions are down. Whatever Overwatch team you've got up there, they're surgical." Roar stood frozen, eyes locked on the map. Falconspire wasn't supposed to be manned. The Brimstone wasn't supposed to be active. The last person he saw heading that direction was the medic he'd reprimanded. Then Lex's voice, breathless, raw. "Sir, it's Voss. Doc's on the ridge. She's the one holding the line." Silence. Not confusion, not denial, recognition. Roar closed his eyes. The system he trusted, built on lanes, titles, boundaries, had been rewritten by the one person it tried to silence. Minutes later, the thunder of rotor blades cut through the desert. A black Warden-class Chinook descended on the ridge. It wasn't backup, it was judgment. Commander Roar stepped off first. No aids, no sidearms, no orders. He walked through the dust toward the soldier who disobeyed him and saved his team. He stopped 3 paces from her. Aerin was rigid, still at prone, but turned to meet his gaze. "I gave you an order," he said quietly. "I know." Aerin nodded. He looked at the brimstone, the 10 spent casings beside her elbow, the blood on her gloves, Arden Trace's blood, then at her eyes. "You should have been court-martialed for this." "Yes, sir. But the truth is, you should have been on that ridge from the start." Before he could say more, another figure stepped from the chopper, a woman in a deep gray coat, no unit patch. Her voice was calm, exacting. "Specialist Voss. I've read the after-action logs. 12 confirmed eliminations, 0 civilian loss. Convoy intact." She walked closer, face unreadable, then stopped. "You must be Trace Logic's sister." Aerin's breath caught. The name, the one no one dared speak aloud, hung like smoke. "He taught me the grass blade crosswind method," the woman added softly. "Did he ever show you that one?" Tears welled in Aerin's eyes, but her voice was clear. "He did." That was all. The confirmation the woman needed. She turned to roar. "This isn't an insubordination case. It's a case study in what we almost lost." Then to Aerin, "You've rewritten more than a mission today. You've redefined capability. Effective immediately, you're assigned dual role, combat medic and tactical support sniper. You'll train openly this time." As the chopper lifted, the desert wind returned. Aerin stood alone on the ridge she wasn't supposed to be on, behind the rifle she was never supposed to touch after saving people who never believed she could. Somewhere in the wind, she swore she heard her brother's voice again. Precision is what remains when chaos takes everything else. For more stories where instinct triumphs over protocol and where hidden skill redefines the battlefield, subscribe to The Heart Listens.